Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Veterans History Project, brought to you by the Lawrence County Museum of History. My co-host, as always today, is World War II bomber crew member Lee Hutchinson. Lee, thank you again for being here. We really appreciate it.
Glad to take part in this. We're preserving history for the Bedford Lawrence County Museum, and we're doing veteran interviews for that purpose.
Yes. And our special guest today is United States Navy veteran Gary McDonald. Gary served in the U.S. Navy during the Vietnam War. Thank you for being here, Gary, and welcome to the Veterans History Project.
My privilege to be here.
Gary, you served during the Vietnam War. What type of ship did you serve on?
I served on a destroyer, a USS Nicholas, DD-449. At the time, it was supposed to have been the oldest active destroyer in the Navy. That's what they told me anyway, so I believed them. So.
No reason not to believe them.
We was in what was called an ASW group, Anti-Submarine Warfare, even though I was a radium at the time. But our mission was looking out for submarines. And we had not only sonar, but we had they called it the big fish. They would drop off the fantail, go down about 150, 200 feet, and that give the sonarman a better sound system, even better than the regular sonar.
Well, my co-host can probably tell you a lot about being a radioman.
My question is, whose submarine was it? Was it China or Russia?
Well, we was there during the Cuban thing. And,
I see, so it probably
my ship was up, I think the two islands was Ikishima and Shimonoshima. 30 miles between the two, back and forth, day and night for 2 weeks.
Huh.
So that was our thing. Of course, there was all kinds of fishing boats, lights, pretty out there of the night, those little fishing boats. And we were looking for Russian subs coming through there. So I don't know where it happened. I don't think it was at this time, but I happened to be walking through the midship passageway, midship, walked through there and happened to look at a picture was posted there. It was USS Nicholas, DD-449, and the crosshairs of a submarine. So that was probably during some other exercise, but.
So, did you ever serve off the coast of Vietnam with your destroyer?
We did. I can't remember the name of the ship that was not seaworthy at the time, but we took their place patrolling up and down along the coast. And one of our main objectives was we could convert seawater into potable water. And, of course, they was minesweepers that was going up and down the coast also. From what they told me, those minesweepers had like a lieutenant or something like that. As far as an officer, it was in command of it, and the crew was South Vietnamese that was on those. They would pull alongside us to get drinking water because they didn't have the condensers on board their ship to convert seawater to potable water. So,
a very important thing to have.
You kind of need water a little bit. Yeah. Yes, you do. So.
And Gary just mentioned lieutenant. A Navy lieutenant, for the audience's edification, is equal to a captain in the Army, the Marine Corps, the Air Force.
Okay.
That's an 03.
Okay.
And then you might have a lieutenant commander be in command, and that would be equal to a major in the other branches of the military.
Okay. I'll take your word for that.
Well, we study that stuff from here to there, and just give the audience a general knowledge of what we're talking about. Now then, the destroyer, was that a World War II destroyer that you were on, since you said it was the oldest in the fleet at the time?
Yes, yes. We was stationed out of Pearl Harbor. And I remember, I've been out there for 60 years, so I'm not quite as sharp on this as I was at one time. But I know we made at least 2 Westpac cruises, and I think possibly even 3. Been to a lot of places that if it just been up to, civilian life, I'd never been there. Been to Ground Zero at, we call it Hiroshima, they call it Hiroshima. And I was thinking that we pulled into Nagasaki at one time, but I always remember from the newsreels, in the background, there was like a pagoda, or what, it's like a cathedral for us or something like that. And it was like the top of it like this. You could see where that was remaining from World War II. It was unbelievable, the conversion, how it had been updated since the bomb had been dropped there. The place I was at was called a Children's Peace Park. There was a lake there. There was people out rowing in boats. They had a museum there, and it was pretty much an eye-opener on the devastation that took there. All the burning and marring of the people that was there. And then it even showed one thing where when that went off, it actually took an X-ray, I guess you'd say, against the wall of a person that was standing there, just a dark outline. But that was one of the wildest taxi rides I ever have taken in my life, because I think that dude was trying to get revenge on us. He had me and my buddy on there. He slung us all over that taxi.
Oh.
It would kind of just really get you whenever it was a beautiful day, sun shining, smooth seas, smooth sailing. And just to think less than, 20 years prior to that, fellow sailors were fighting and dying right in that area right there. Been by all Hiroshima, just all those islands along there that was in World War II. Actually got on Midway Island, and seemed like a lot of the places we pull in, seemed like my duty section was always on duty at the time. We pulled into Midway, and I didn't get that was Guam. It was where we pulled in, and I didn't get to go there. Midway, I did get to go off. And have you ever heard of the Goonie birds?
Yes.
They are a big bird. I guess they're so big, it's like their legs are not enough to sustain their weight whenever they come in. And talk about a crash landing or a leave.
They always crash land.
They crash landing coming in there. So.
Yeah, it's amazing how many things you saw when you were there, left over from World War II in Korea, because we blew the daily. Japan was just blowing to pieces, day and night. The B-29s, and then when they did drop the atomic bombs, the world said, "Oh, it's a terrible, terrible thing."
Yeah.
But there are plans that show you our invasion plans, that millions would have died on both sides.
Yeah.
Japanese and millions of Americans. And so when they dropped the bomb, it was a blessing in disguise, of course.
It took lives in, but it saves a lot of lives in the long run. Then
they estimated millions dying if we had to invade.
Yeah.
And a young man named Lee Hutchinson would have been on orders to Japan because Curtis LeMay, the Air Force general in charge, was going to bring the B-17s from Europe to Asia.
Yeah, we actually flew ours back from England, and they gave us furloughs for a while because in the back of their mind they knew they were going to drop those bombs, and so we didn't have to go to the Pacific. The B-29s did all the work in the Pacific.
Oh yeah.
B-24s.
Yeah. Anytime I get a chance, my wife didn't watch it. Women just don't like to watch these movies like the guys do. But I like to watch all of. I can't remember what was that one that was so famous.
Memphis Belle.
Memphis Belle.
Memphis
Yeah,
Belle.
about it. Yeah.
There were dozens of them, and the Memphis Belle was probably the most realistic. And remind me to give you a card. I've got several YouTube stories that you
Oh,
can watch.
okay.
So what was one of the more, you spoke about Hiroshima. Were there any other interesting places you visited while you were in the Navy that come to mind?
Well, I was stationed, of course, out of Pearl Harbor, and of course, I went in. When I got there, I was a seaman, just 3 stripes across there, and then when I made 3rd class, I spent one night at shore patrol, and I was right at the end of the bay there, and it's called Mary Point Landing, and it just made you think about whenever we got attacked there. Probably somebody was standing right at that point and watched all this that was going on, and then I've seen movies where it's talking about they would try to pick ports that was as close to Pearl Harbor as it was there, and anyway, they had to develop special torpedoes, but don't not go so deep. If they went too deep, they'd hit the bottom and sink in there. But another thing, they was I don't know if it's still happening at the time. The Arizona was still having oil leaks, and it was kind of funny the way they was a little. It just looked like a little raft. I don't know. Maybe it might have been as big as this room. Maybe not quite. But they would go through the harbor there, and there's a lot of junk that would come in there, and they would pick up stuff and just to get it out of the water in there. And that little thing was called a Juicy Susie. Thought that was kind of comical. I don't know how many times I've been by the Arizona, and we would stand at attention and salute, but I never did make it on there. The only way that I could, at least at that time, I could get on there was I had to go to a private industry or place, and hire, pay money to get onto there.
Tourist deal, one of the tourist.
And I always felt bad about that. I never did get that done. I was trying to think of anything else. You ever been pulling out a port at Pearl? It may be this way at other ports too, but you start in and the water was a green, and that salt it was really strong. And then until you get out to the blue water, I remember whenever I got on the first time, and I've even gotten car sick when I was a kid, so you can imagine how that hit me. And it was kind of a known thing. Whenever they'd pull out at sea and they had some new guys on there, it was like they would feed some greasy pork chops. I guess it went down easy and it come up easy too. So
Wasn't anything special. Now, when you were on patrol looking for submarines, were you armed to drop depth bombs and et cetera, if you found them?
Well,
Or were you just watching?
believe it or not,
searching?
we actually had a helicopter.
Okay.
We had a flight deck back there.
Yeah.
I think, if I remember right, the ship was roughly 250 feet long, something like that. And on the O2 level was a flight deck. It was a remote control helicopter.
Oh.
And anyway, sonar and radar would work together. If they would get a contact, radar would take them out, to where whatever it was down there. And then it would have, I'm not sure if it had 1 or 2 torpedoes on board, which remote control.
The helicopter had torpedoes.
The torpedo, yeah. And anyway, they tried to get them out over where the sub was and drop it down.
Okay.
Then. We had another thing that's called hedgehogs. And they would be up at the front of the ship there. They could either be fired singly, ripple fire, or mass fire.
Oh, I see.
And then there was another thing called a weapon alpha. That was, I don't know how that thing worked. But it was not supposed to be good for the enemy anyway. So
Wouldn't be good.
there was another thing that they was talking about. I don't know how they got those out, but it was supposed to fire. Well, it was far, I guess, kind of like the hedgehogs, however they wanted to do it, and that was supposed to be weighted enough to go down in the water, and it was magnetized, attach itself to the submarine, and absolutely drive them nuts because when they would move, it would be bang, 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 just flapping like that, hitting the hull of that sub. So, of course, we never did actually, of course, we have had maneuvers out there, but as far as coming in contact with, I think one time I actually went to general quarters, and it was not a drill. Generally you hear that going off, this is a drill, this is a drill. One bad thing happened on there. We just pulled out of Hong Kong. Was in a heck of a storm out in the South China Sea. I was in the back part of the ship. I was in the bathroom, and I just come out in the hallway, and 2 guys run off the fantail, which was not supposed to have been on the fantail during a storm like this, because we were taking some rolls. One of them got on the sound-powered phone and started cranking like crazy, and he couldn't get the right number. They was trying to get to the pilot house. And finally, when they got it, they said, "Man, overboard, port side, left side." I got back at the hatch, opened it up, and looked back, and I never did see him. But anyway, we had turned and got back at that point in, I believe it was 4 minutes, was traveling with an aircraft carrier. They had helicoptered over there, just quick. And the only thing they said, the after look at on our ship said they saw him once in the wake back there. The only thing when the rest of them got around there was a pack of cigarettes floating on the water. His name was Mixon Rhodes, Rhodes. I played on the basketball team with him. He was a young black man. And anyway, you was not supposed to be able to graduate from boot camp unless you could swim. And rumor was that he got out of there and couldn't swim. The bad thing, which is all bad going overboard, but is the fact that they call them the props or propellers or the screws, they call them. You can be sucked under there and killed by those screws if you go overboard.
Yeah. We had,
of course, I'm sorry.
World War II, we went over on the Queen Mary in the North Atlantic, icebergs all around us and sub-freezing water. Instead of a man falls overboard, the next ship behind us will pick him up, which was a complete lie because there was nobody behind us, and he would have died in a minute. In your case, he died because he was drawn under the water by those propellers.
Well, we took a roll to port side, I guess, and he went over that top rail, and them other guys had been, and like I say, they were not supposed to be back there during that time. I've been in the pilot house And boy, we were in one heck of a storm. And the way they've got that fixed up there, the ship rolls around the pointer. It's an arrow coming down here, and it's fixed. So the ship, when it rolls, so we took a 48-degree roll and just stood there like this. I don't know how many times sailors pray, but we were praying then.
About ready to go over.
Come on, get us straighten up here, straighten up here. My gosh.
Well, the South Pacific's known for their storms.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That one we went through, they said it voiced life rafts off the aircraft carrier. I don't remember what aircraft carrier we were with at the time. But if it gets, excuse me, bad enough to pull in off an aircraft carrier, you know, it's got to be bad.
Oh, yeah, heavy as they are, much water as they draw.
I was fortunate enough, I grew up playing this fast pitch softball. And so I made it to the basketball team, and I pitched fast pitch for a team on board the ship there. It was a lot of fun. It was good times, and there's other times you didn't think was so good.
About how many men do you have on a battleship?
Well, on a destroyer.
Oh, on a destroyer, I'm sorry.
They was roughly 250, I think.
250.
Yeah. I can't remember for sure how many officers we had. Of course, everybody had their favorite officer, and then some of them we were not exactly in love with. So,
When you were in Hawaii, did you see any of the leftover Japanese war material that was downed by American forces there? Did they have that in the museum that you can recall?
really, I don't remember seeing
Okay.
anything like that.
And
I mean,
I'm sure you're aware it was the USS Ward that fired basically the first shot in the Battle of Pearl Harbor when they sank that the small Japanese sub that was trying to reconnoiter the entrance to the harbor area there.
yeah.
And that was an American destroyer that did that, USS Ward.
Lee, I don't know. Did you ever know a guy from Heltonville named Herbie Harrell, Dale Harrell?
Yeah,
He was a postmaster.
Yeah.
He was a signalman. I don't recall what. He was on a destroyer too, I think, and they were just out far enough away from port to where they didn't get detected, you know, by the Japanese.
Oh.
But they missed it, you know, not but too awful much.
Huh.
And he was like me. He was a fast pitch softball player, so he said Herbie wasn't too big a guy, and he said that they was having a ball game, and anyway he went behind the bleachers to get him a beer, and he said when he come back around there, said it was a knockdown, drag-out fight, so he said he just sat behind the bleachers and drank his beer till that got over with, so didn't want to get involved.
Yeah. But, you know, serving on a ship that size, you're a smaller size than so many of them.
Oh, yeah.
That battleship
They call,
aircraft carrier was a monster.
they said this was, they called it a Fletcher style or size ship. And the Fletcher was still in operation. We was in Com Desron 2-5. And anyway, the Fletcher, the Sproston, the Carpenter, and the Nicholas was at least 4 of them that I recall that was in our group.
Yes, that's how the Navy names their ship. The first ship of the class, that's what the others carried, the name. So the Fletcher class destroyer
Yeah.
was named that because the USS Fletcher was the first of the
Oh, yeah, first of its
destroyers
type.
in that class.
Yeah.
When you went into the Navy, you had boot camp.
Yes.
But did you have small arms training or any other training for guns?
I was an old man when I went in.
Oh.
I was 20 years old.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know, you were an old man.
So it paid off as far as that goes. I would stay in the barracks with a team that would clean up the barracks, pick up stuff and all this. I was a master at arms, And so I spent one day on the grinder out marching,
Is that right?
and the rest of those dudes there. And I always figured, well, it was because I was a little bit younger or older than the other guys in there. I remember going down through the the shot line. Of course, they was just coming out with that air shot. I don't know whether you guys remember that or not.
I do.
You did not want to
It was
move
the
it.
air gun,
Air gun. You did not. It'd rip you like a knife.
correct. The high pressure
Yes.
medication
Yeah.
that they were injecting under your skin. Yes. When I went in, they had those still.
I was walking down through there, and they was hitting me left and right, shooting me with stuff. And I got down to the end of that line, and they started to walk out, and they said, "Hey, buddy, wait a minute." So they went out and started pulling needles out of my arm. And one thing, another word they passed there said, if you've ever played any kind of a instrument in a band, let us know. Well, I'd taken maybe 3 or 4 lessons on a snare drum. And so I went, and of course I wasn't good enough to play a snare drum, but I got in the drum and bugle corps playing what's known as a tenor drum. Well, after I got honor man of my company, and I didn't realize it, they stuck me at the right front of that group. And the only thing we done the whole time in that one period, our whole objective was getting ready for graduation day. And so we done okay. And then after it was all over with, they said, I guess you know that if you messed up, the whole bunch messed up because everybody's centered on you up there. I thought, thanks a lot for telling me now.
And then you were assigned to a destroyer immediately, or?
They would have a thing that was called a dream sheet. The whole thing was you would put down what you think you would like to, the place you would like to go and the type of ship you would like to serve on. So, they probably thought they had really caught a fish here because I put a destroyer out of Pearl Harbor, and that's exactly what I got. So, I mean, I had a good time. Most of the time was a good time. Of course, there's times that you weren't. Well, I think I was up at the Radio Shack, and anyway, they went across the PA system, said there was a school of porpoises on the starboard side. So I took off. I had to go all the way the length of the ship where we were at, so up under the fantail back there. Well, I jumped and would come up under that darkened switch that, from the hatches there, busted my head open.
Oh.
And so here I am. I remember the corpsman's name was Doc Zettel. And here I am down there, blood running down my face. Another time, I'd come out of the bathroom with a head, whatever, and had shower shoes on. I was going down the ladder into the compartment. I had a hold of a support thing up here where the I couldn't call it, air circulation vents come through there. There was a joint right there. My feet slipped out from under me. I'm hanging onto that in a swing, sliced my head right through.
Darn.
It got to Zettel. He'd see me say, "All right, McDonald, what did you do this time?" So he sewed me up and patched me up. I don't know how many times while I was in there.
Where did you go to basic training at?
Oh, here I just went dead. Like,
Chicago?
yes,
Great Lakes?
Great Lakes.
Okay.
It just got away from me. Yeah,
Great Lakes.
I was up there for 3 months? Seemed like something like that. Great Lakes.
And radioman school, did you have to go to another place for that?
Yeah, we went there, and then that was at Bainbridge, Maryland, where I went to that. They would start a new class every 2 weeks. I actually got set back in that class 2 times. One time I thought I deserved, the other time I didn't think. we had to do a math. Well, it was electrical. You had to figure it on the back of the paper and then transfer your numbers. And I got a number or two messed up on that. They sent me back 2 weeks. I had done it perfect on the back, but it just messed up there. The other time was Morse code. I was supposed to be able to do 22 words sending and receive 22 words a minute. And I didn't make it the first time, but then I made it the second time.
That's what I passed. And we had radio mechanics. They wanted us to repair our own equipment, etc.
Yeah.
So half a 6-hour session, 3 hours of Morse code, and then 3 hours of mechanics. And that took about 3 months. The Army, the Air Corps just set them up everywhere. You never knew where the schools would be, And I ended up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
I've seen some of the movie actors that actually served, and it's surprised me how many of them were actually radiomen.
They had to have everybody had to have a radio because they hadn't had cell phones invented yet. If they had cell phones, I wouldn't have had a job.
Tell you the truth now, just soon cell phones weren't even around.
Now they don't even use Morse code.
Well,
They quit using it now. They just
international. It's the American Morse and International Morse.
Yeah. We use the international.
We had
In World War II.
Whenever you send Morse code, you know this too. You've always been taught you do not send faster than the slowest man that's on the circuit there.
Yeah.
And we had this one guy on there. He was a lot of fun, but he could be a little bit of a smart aleck. He was on there one time. Apparently, one guy was not up to snuff with the rest of them, and we had what was called QZ signals. Q was how was the strength of the send, and then Z, he sent him one. I remember that. It was called a ZLD2. And when you looked it up, it says, we are unable to transmit pictures. I thought, that really put that dude down that was on the other end there.
Remembering the Q signal was a job because we had so many of them. It was it's a short way to send a session. QEW meant how's the weather all over the target. Somebody would radio and tell you back.
Yeah.
Or how the runway opens. And you could send a long message with 3 letters. And because the Q signals were adapted to the Air Force and everybody else during World War II.
Did you ever have to send what was called single sideband?
No, I don't. Everything I sent was what the pilot and bombardier told me to send.
Yeah.
I sent reports back to the base, and I monitored the radio to get information from the base. And that was my job. But I still had to do 22 words a minute.
Yeah.
Make strike reports and position reports.
Yeah. When they said that single sideband, it sounded about like somebody that took a whiff of helium.
Yeah, well.
You know how their voice gets real high, like.
Well, we had no voice signal. The reason the Morse code was so important was the voice message just wouldn't go that far, so we had to use the Morse code. I could send from Berlin to London.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with Morse code. But with voice, everybody else used voice among the squadrons in flight. All the pilots could talk to each other, etc.
You might have, when you was up there, you might have got a better range than we did because you know that skip up there, you could get a signal up above a clouds and just bounce back and forth until it got to a place where it could get through.
Mm-hmm.
And I never did. Did you ever get your ham operator's license?
No,
I never did either.
When I came home, I was only 18 when I went in, and I was 21 when I came home. I wasn't interested in anything but getting a job and
getting out of there.
Life,
You probably knew Larry Hammersley, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Larry and I ran road races and with Larry for several years, and you know, he was a ham operator.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course,
And
he passed away.
and Jenkins had his own station.
I'm sorry.
Jenkins Motor,
Oh.
they had their own station too.
Oh, really?
Now, he was a big ham man.
Yeah, I didn't know.
It was very popular. It still is. There's a club in Bloomington. But now that nobody uses it, Morse code anymore. That just use voice.
Now, did you you get drafted?
Yeah, out of high school. It was that desperate.
I don't know where you want to hear this or not. I was engaged at the time. I was 20. She was 17. Mm-hmm. She was still in school. And I knew in my heart that that was not going to work. So I would have liked to be able to say I really went in because I was patriotic.
You went in because you didn't want to marry her.
I didn't want to tie her up or get tied up myself.
You took the escape route.
Yes, I did. Hey, we had what was called Dear John.
Yeah.
While I was in there, and of course, I got mine, and another guy or two got theirs. That after I got out of there, I got a letter. This one kid, Leon Bear, he was a cocky young dude. His lady was never going to desert him or whatever. She did.
She did.
Yes. But the worst one I ever saw, I felt so bad for that guy. He was a cook. Instead of getting a letter that says, we're breaking off our engagement, he got a letter announcing her engagement to another dude. He did not give an invitation to it either, from what I remember. I went in May the 1st, 1961. I got out May the 18th, 1965. We just pulled out of Hong Kong again, which I think we can't even go into Hong Kong anymore, haven't we? Got turned back over to the Chinese. Yeah. But we just pulled out of there. My time was up. Captain cornered me, trying to get me to ship over or extend. And, of course, there's guys standing behind him trying to get me tickled and all this. And I agreed to extend for 30 days or upon arrival back at Pearl. Well, they mustered us out at, Treasure Island?
Yes, San Francisco.
It's San Francisco Bay, yeah. And actually ended up spending 18 days out of that 30 that extended for.
You mentioned the National Guard. Did you go in the Guard after you came home?
Yeah, I was trying to think. It was about 1972, I think it was. I got in there, and being as a radioman, they stuck me in a van. And I'm in here, I'm an E5. I'm stuck in with other E5s and an E6.
Is that equal to tech sergeant or master sergeant?
What's
that equal
to? E5 would be equal to a United States Air Force staff sergeant. And an E6 would be equal to a U.S. Air Force technical sergeant.
Well, you're stuck in a van on radio, and you didn't like it.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Did you like already being in the van? Radio van?
No. Stuck in there 2 days, and I found out, I can't remember, you know Bill Kendall?
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember if it was Kendall or another guy before him. And I told him, I said, I have got to have some relief. I can't stand this. I'm going nuts in there. I'm the same rank as some of these other guys, and they won't tell me anything to do. So I'm in there just bored to tears. They stuck me over the service and evacuation bunch. I had radiator repairman. I had a machine shop. I can't remember what all. I had canvas repairman. I had like 15, 17 guys that was under me. And of course, I had to evaluate their performance and all this stuff. I don't know where I'll mention any individual's names. Okay, I won't do that. we put like we had one character.
Yeah.
One character. He got me in trouble. The first weekend we went to Atterbury. We pulled up out at, was we pulling in Seymour, and he pulled alongside, and he said, McDonald, I'm out of tobacco. Well, why didn't he get tobacco before they got there? So, and I said, not a good idea. He took off, and Frank Brooking, he went to Brooking and lied to him about, I said it was okay.
Oh.
But anyway, I was not exactly in love with that guy after that, because you kind of had to keep an eye on him.
How many years did you spend in the Guard?
I was in there 2 times. I spent.
2 different times.
I was 2 years that time. 2 years that time, and then I was out a year or so, I think, and I went back in, and I got with Supply that time, so I got rid of some headaches there. Oh, that was a pretty good bunch to be with.
I was there 3 years, but they were a tank corps when I was in it, and they put me in a tank on radio.
They had, I think the other bunch there was what was called a dump truck. Some of the guys,
the truck drivers, the
truck drivers, yeah. They, a friend of mine from Heltonville tried to get me to join up whenever they was getting ready to go to Germany, and I said I didn't lose anything over there, so I didn't. I'm glad I didn't go then, from what the reports I got after they got back from there. Oh boy, wish I could add some other stuff. Probably when I get done, it'll all come back to me.
Yeah.
I can still 541 5880. That's mine, and my brother's 16605 122.
Service numbers.
Yeah, I remember. I can't remember where he was. He was in Korea. He's actually went under fire a time or two up there. The sappers coming across the border up there and coming down. But I can't remember. I wouldn't the name. Somebody was running for president, and he says, "If he gets in, I'll see you offshore Vietnam." Well, I got offshore Vietnam, and I don't generally say this, but I said, "I'm here, and where the hell are you?"
Yeah.
So he wasn't there. But
he didn't make it.
he was, I think Larry was in. He was in about 8 or 9 years old. He was in the Texas National Guard.
Oh, I see.
Also later, he lived down there for several years. Is there any other points that you can think of? I can't.
We sure thank you for coming in, but I want to tell you, spread the word to the other guys that we would like to have their story if they would like to. The museum wants to do it. They want to save the story like we did in World War II. So that's why we're doing this. And so any guys you're talking to at the meeting, emphasize the fact that
A matter of fact, a friend of mine, David Bailey, I called him, and he told me he had a relation coming in from New Jersey this afternoon. Well, then he told his wife, and she said, do it. Well, it was too late. Then Pinnock.
Yeah.
And so I called him and told him. So,
I couldn't get Pinnock to respond.
Yeah.
I called him 3 times.
So I
We'll
know
have
Dave.
to get him later.
Maybe get Dave, in here. Dave, I don't know just where he served or whatever. He was probably boots on the ground. I'm not sure. But whenever I got out, like I say, they got out of there May the 18th, 1965. And I don't think they started hitting Hanoi until like August.
Yeah.
So I was always, this group out here, Lawrence County Vietnam veterans, it started off boots on the ground, from what I understand, and then they opened it up.
They expanded it to everybody.
Yeah. So
And I got about 26 guys that have signed. But if David wants to come with,
yeah,
Yeah, anybody can join.
yeah. So I always felt, in a way, I didn't deserve to be called a Vietnam veteran because I didn't go through what these guys went through.
well, you went through the preparations. You went through the pre-war.
Well, you were just blessed. A lot of our Navy ships were hit with coastal gunfire when they came within range. And you certainly were within range. If you can see them, see the coast of Vietnam, they can see you. So you're within range.
I see what happened on USS Forrestal. Do you guys remember that? Where they?
Yes.
There was a bunch of sailors lost their lives on that ship.
That was an accident on board the deck of the
Yes.
aircraft carrier.
And it just spread.
It spread, yes.
Yeah.
Because you got to remember, all those planes are filled with fuel.
Oh,
And
yeah.
all it takes is one of them to go up, and the rest are it's like dominoes.
Yeah. There was it happened during a night operation. One time there was a pilot that crashed, and they did recover his body. And they brought him on board our ship, and in order to, preserve, they stuck him in what was called our reefer, our refrigerator down there, until somebody could come along and, pick him up then. Oh, and another thing he's talking about, we were taking on stores one night, and of course they give you a whistle and a light. And I happened to be looking out to sea a ways, and I see a light floating out there. So I got our talker to get word back to the ship. There was a ship behind us, and I don't know if some dude is just throwing his light over or if it actually was a sailor that went overboard. So, that would be probably one of the loneliest feelings in the world, to be out there and not knowing if anybody's going to pick you up. There's something else that come to, and it's already gone. I can't remember what it was. We was taking on stores one time, and they would line it over from another, the store ship over to us. We'd be back on the fan, well, it wasn't the fan tail, it was our flight deck where they would come over there. The net would, it'd take the boxes out of that net, and then we had people lined up, passing the box, and it was supposed to go down to the galley. We had a man, we had our main radio, we had radio 2, and we had emergency radio, which was on the 01 level down there. So we would pass and we'd pass. So we had planned ahead. We stationed a man in radio 2. So when something's come through there that we wanted, it didn't make it down to the mess deck. So I remember we got a box that had about 3 or 4 gallons of peaches in there. I know we got that one, and I don't know what else. What we didn't realize, some of the other guys were past their departments, they was doing the same thing.
Oh,
So,
nothing got to get to.
so after we got underway, I broke away from then. Captain got on board and said, "Now hear this. This is the captain. If those are responsible for removing any of the items that have come on board, we'll turn them in so the rest of the crew can eat. No questions will be asked." So we turned them in. And we had, our first captain was Cummings. And he was, don't whistle up a storm. He had a ring bigger than this one here. The set was missing. And I always figured there was some kind of superstition with that because he never did replace the setting in that. You would scrape it down, what was it, red lead went on metal, and zinc chromate went on aluminum. You went down, you wiped it down, and then you scraped it down, and then you done that before you repainted. Newcomb, the next guy on there, he didn't care. He just had you paint right over salt water, which that was not good at all. I think whenever President Kennedy got killed, they was going to have something on one of the other ships next to, or something or other. I think we were tied outboard. Seems like it was 5 other ships. It was like we would have to salute the ensign, the flag, and the officer of the deck. And I think before we set foot on shore, we had to salute like 12 times. And any one of those quarterdeck officers of the day could refuse to let you cross their ship if your appearance was not up to snuff. So, you always tried to look the best you could going over there. Like I said, the reason I went and was not necessarily a patriotic one, but I'm glad I served. And anytime I see a serviceman or woman or whatever, I try to stop and talk and thank them for their service. And it's especially if I see somebody that has a Vietnam veteran cap on, that. Of course, think about things have just changed so dramatically in that time. I've been out 60 years, and I know that Radio Shack, I wouldn't even recognize it when I went in there now. I mean, it would be so updated. It's just like each day we had a board up here and different wires that would plug in. We knew where to plug them, but each day, because everything changed. And I took 2 years. That was a really good thing that I did. I took 2 years of typing in high school, and it really helped when I went to radio school, because those guys, they were having to learn electronics. They was having to learn how to type. They was having to learn Morse code. So I had one up on them while I was in there. And
Well, Lee, it's good to have you back. I'm
Thank you
glad
very-
that you've
thank you very
recovered
much.
from pneumonia, and it's truly a pleasure to have you back with us. We'll be back again, folks, at another date and time. I want to thank you, Mr. McDonald, for coming in.
My
And
privilege.
please pass along to the other Vietnam veterans and any Korean veterans that you might know as well that we're here to do this, and we're happy to do it as part of the museum's Veterans History Project.
thank you.
For the Lawrence County Museum, Lee Hutchinson, I'm Brad Bough, the Lawrence County Veteran Service Officer, and I want to thank you for tuning in. And as always, Joe Voris behind the scenes, we want to thank him for doing what he does. And if you love your freedom, be sure to thank a veteran. So long, everyone.